I'm Kenton Claremont, and you're listening to the Train to Hunt podcast. Dude, there he is. He's coming in. Come in. Get ready.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Kenton Claremont, and I'm talking with Kyle Holinback. He lives in New York. And Kyle, why don't you're going to do it a lot more justice than I would. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to the audience and, give a background, kind of where you grew up, how you started into athletics and hunting and all that. So why don't you let us know a little bit more about Kyle Holinback?
Yeah, sure. First, I'd like to thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. That's a great platform you got going, and I'm glad to be a part of it. So I grew up, like you said, in New York, about central New York, but I'm probably 3 hours north of the city, and really small town. I graduated with 150 people, so it's a real small class. I played pretty much football, baseball, soccer. I played a lot of sports growing up, but my true passions were football and baseball athletically. So I played both sports all the way through high school, and then I continued on and played football in college at a Division III school in Rochester. So I've been pretty athletic growing up.
What position did you play, Kyle?
So in high school I played defensive end and guard, soaking wet 180 pounds. And then when I transferred to college, I became an outside linebacker, on the strong side. So that was a pretty big change from going to the line to covering wide receivers and tight ends. And I had to do that 2 years removed from football. So I went to a small JUCO school, and I didn't play football there because they didn't have it. And then I transferred to a 4-year school. So I was 2 years removed from playing at all. And that was a big eye-opening experience, to say the least.
That's a pretty big deal, too, like to be able to not play for a couple of years and then step back into pads. And it's a pretty major step up from high school to college sports. No matter what sport you're playing, but I couldn't even do it justice. From everything from speed to strength to power, it's just unreal to put it in comparison. So I've been pretty much an athlete throughout my young adulthood, and now getting back into the hunting aspect of it, I'm more so into that and to kind of living a healthier lifestyle. So that kind of training's been put by the wayside, so to speak, but I still train like an athlete, and I think we all do to a certain degree. Just depends on what your goals are. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So I've been training since I was 14, 15 years old. I'm 32 now, so about 15 years or so. So after you got done with college sports, Kyle, that's a pretty big transition as well. Like, I think being an ex-college athlete myself, I know that going from being a college athlete and athlete your whole life, and then transitioning into the real world and having to kind of move on from being, Kyle the athlete to Kyle the, productive member of society. It's a pretty big transition. How did you handle that transition from, say, college athlete to, civilian, I guess, the real world?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough. I got hired the last week of my senior year as a police officer. So I kind of transitioned right from college to a police academy 2 weeks after I graduated. So
nice.
So I still kind of was able to have that competitiveness and drive and energy transfer right into something else. So I was very lucky in that aspect. But I quickly, kind of like you just touched on, I quickly realized that the way I was training certainly wasn't going to get it done in the police academy. I was more of a strength-based athlete. I still kind of am to a certain degree, but I quickly realized that the way I was training is not going to cut it. I was probably 225 pounds at the time, Yeah. And I could move really well, but I had no endurance. So if you know anything about MMA, for example, it's all about being powerful for a extended period of time. It's kind of the same thing as a police officer. So I had to transition and transform my training completely.
So what did you add? Like what was the major thing you're like, okay, well, I just got to do this?
Yeah. So first thing, I had to lose weight. 225, give or take, is what I graduated college at. And then you throw 25 to 30 pounds worth of gear on. You know, you're pushing 250. That's a lot of weight to be carrying around on your frame, and it's pretty exhausting just standing there and walking and doing, you know, normal activity. So I had to first and foremost lose weight and do it in a healthy way. And then secondly, I had to increase my work capacity. And what I mean by that is just work on energy systems. So a little bit of endurance training, a little bit more high intensity training, a little bit more active recovery, all of which I was doing, but definitely not nearly enough. So I had to definitely condition myself more and put that at the forefront. You know, I still wanted to get strong and be powerful, but I definitely had to prioritize things a little bit differently.
Yeah. You had to be more powerful. You had to be powerful longer than, you know, what is an average playing football? 8 seconds?
That's like 6 seconds, yeah. Tops. Yeah.
So football is just an endless number of intervals that are 6 seconds long, followed by about 35 to 40 seconds of rest.
Exactly.
That's what it is. So, that's cool. So you're in the academy, and are you hunting at this point?
No. So I picked that up much later in life. My dad always, oddly enough, he hunted when I was younger. I can remember, and I'm eastern part of the U.S., like I said, in New York, so primarily whitetail. So I could always remember my dad bringing, you know, his harvest back home and everything. And for some reason, I just prioritized athletics first and never really got into hunting. So so no, I wasn't hunting at this point.
Okay, so you're in the academy. Tell us about how you ended up where you're at now, because you're still in the academy or the police force, right? Yeah,
so I'm 10 years. It's a little over 10 years of service. I work for a police department, and like I said, in upstate New York, it's Cornell University. I'm also a canine handler, so you have to add that aspect into it a little bit. So you have to have a little bit more conditioning and be in overall shape a little bit more than a normal road patrol officer. But I had about 10 years of service so far.
Okay, and so you train, you're a dog handler. So do you train these dogs?
Yeah.
Do you spend a lot of time with them?
Obviously, you
spend a lot of time with them. And what exactly are the dogs trained to do?
Yeah, so I am one of two handlers for my department, but both the dogs are explosive detection canines, so they smell out anything that is considered an explosive odor. Could be anything from spent shell casings to handguns to bombs, pipe bombs, things like that. So we were fortunate enough to have a trainer with our department, so I was able to train with him and train my dog alongside of the other handler. So we got to bring him up from, you know, a younger dog all the way to now he's 8. So I've had a lot of time with him. If you could picture going to work, most people work 40-hour work weeks, so 5 8-hour days. I have a dog with me all of those hours, and he comes home with me. Yeah, he stays with me, so I can pretty much tell what he's going to do before he does it, and vice versa. He knows what to expect out of me. So it's definitely a partnership, and it's very rewarding. Let's say that.
I bet. I've always been intrigued by the dog training and having, you know, the police dog, how valuable they are. I mean, that's something that has been, you know, throughout, you know, basically throughout history, that dogs have always been alongside man fighting in wars and on the streets, and I think it's a pretty cool partnership. What So you train dogs and you train people. That's funny.
Yeah.
Basically, your whole life is training.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, since I've had the dogs for 6 years or so, and coincidentally enough, I've owned or operated a gym in some capacity for about the same amount of time.
Okay.
So prior to that, I've always trained people, but I actually opened up a facility about 6 years ago. So yeah, I pretty much train people and coach people all day long and that kind of thing. So I'm around the public in some way for the majority of my day.
Yeah, right. So tell me about training people. Like what is your ideal client? Like I know every trainer. I've been in this training business for 20 years, and everybody has the one client that they're like, when they get this profile, they're just stoked. They're whether it be a weight loss or a rehab or training for some athletic event, whatever it might be. What's your ideal client look like?
So for the most part, most of my clients have been, like you said, like a transformation type of client. So whether it's fat loss, muscle gain, or fat loss and muscle gain, that's been kind of my bread and butter, so to speak. But for all intents and purposes, I treat every one of my clients like an athlete. I believe that pretty much all people are athletes to some extent. It just depends on, what their goals are, what their objectives of the training that they're doing is. So I pretty much, as long as you're motivated and willing to work and you want to have a goal and you want to meet and achieve that goal, I'm willing to work with you. It's game on for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
Athletes, I've trained athletes too. Those types of clients intrigue me because, depending on how long you have them, they're never satisfied. As you know, in a CrossFit environment or a box gym type of thing, they're never satisfied. So you're always trying to find different ways to push people.
Well, yeah, just in general, I think that the human tendency is to never be satisfied. Like I've never had a client that, we set some goals and they want to lose X amount of weight or be able to do, X performance wise. And then once they reach that goal, they don't usually, I've never had a client say, all right, that's good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll see you when I fall off my goals. One of the things you said that was really interesting to me, Kyle, is that I know what you mean by it, but explain to everybody what you mean by I treat everybody like an athlete.
Yeah. So whether it's, you may not realize, but let's say, for example, you're picking your son or daughter up off the floor. Well, if you have them in one hand and you're trying to get up off the floor, without knowing it, you've just done a Turkish get-up. So you have to kind of see, as a coach, you kind of have to see that you're training and doing athletic movements on a daily basis. To what extent, that may vary, but people need to move well and be able to do the things that they want to do on a daily basis without having to think about it. So to me, that's the true definition of athleticism. Being able to do what you want to do without any restriction.
Yeah, and to me, that just means being well-rounded, right? Like,
exactly.
Life requires a certain amount of power and mobility, which is a huge one, strength and stamina, endurance. In order for you to be able to do whatever you want to do, you have to be a well-rounded individual. I think that this concept isn't something new. It's obviously something that's come to the forefront, 10 years ago with the launch of CrossFit. But they did a good job of just kind of defining what general physical preparedness was, and that's, being able to not be completely deficient in any one category of what we would call in shape, whether it be mobility or balance. If you have terrible balance or if you have terrible mobility, it doesn't matter how strong and powerful you are, that there's going to be some things in your life that you're going to struggle with. So, I think that you hit it on the head, just making sure everybody has the ability through their training to accomplish life's tasks without without limitations, right?
Yeah, and I'll kind of piggyback on that too. You said the ability too, and one of the biggest things is being injury free. Well, if what you're doing as a coach or it's in your training program, if that's causing you to be injured more times than you're healthy, then you might need to reevaluate your training program. So that doesn't allow you to do things that you want to do in life. So if you're hurt because of your programming and now you can't go out and outcome, well, how good was that programming?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's exactly what I'm referring to. Yeah.
So speaking of training, you know, and being hurt and finding purpose in training, one of the things that I believe is a misconception about people who maybe hunt in the Midwest or the East is, and I got a lot of pushback from all areas of the United States, not just the Midwest or the East, but a lot of pushback from, you know, in particular from people that hunt out there that, you know, there's really no need to train because, you know, we're not walking the mountains, and you people in the West think that, you know, it's all about you and the mountains and backpack hunting and you know, you guys need to train, but we're hunting in tree stands and blinds, and we're driving our four-wheelers out there a lot of the time. So what's the point in training? Can you help answer that question, Kyle?
I can sure try, yeah.
Yeah, what do you tell people? Because you have clients walk in and you talk to people who hunt out there. I mean, what do you tell people when they ask you that question? Like, why should I train for hunting?
Well, first, there's a couple aspects, but first and foremost, it just makes you a healthier individual. You know, everything from cardiovascular risk to muscle strains and injuries and things like that, because it's obviously in the fall is when your hunting season is. You know, being able to draw your bow, you've been sitting for example, 2 or 3 hours, you're cold as cold can be, and you're trying to draw a bow, you may be all alone pulling that back in July, but when you're sitting in a tree stand, good luck trying to pull your bow back if you haven't ever practiced that or done that. You know, you're not going to have the strength to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think we've talked before about it on different calls, but let's say you just shot a deer and you're, you know, X amount of, maybe you're a mile off of your property or access to a vehicle or whatever the case may be. Well, how are you going to get that deer or animal back to where you need to get it, whether it's your vehicle or UTV? You're going to have to drag it. So now, like I just said, you've been sitting 2 or 3 hours, just harvested your animal, now you have to get it back. Well, a good sized doe, maybe 100, 150 pounds, have fun pulling that back if you're not in shape. If you're somebody who's out of shape, doesn't work out or train, doesn't eat right, you're going to be huffing and puffing pulling that thing back. And I think I have to look at the statistics of it, but that's when most of the cardiovascular events occur. You know, is pulling your deer or animal back out of the field to where you need to get it. And that's something that's 100% preventable. Just putting a little effort into it is going to not only help you as a hunter, but just help you as an overall person. So I think there's a huge advantage just in the East Coast for people to train, and just generally you're going to feel better about yourself. If anything, you know, you want to make sure you have that mental edge and just feel 100% on top of your game every time you sit in the stand.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, I mean, I know there was a study done. I'm gonna get it wrong, but I thought it was Stanford, one of those universities did a study basically on your heart rate and how, because I think it was the number 2 killer in a hunting situation, you know, followed by, you know, following the falls, you know, people falling off in tree stands, and that's the number 1 killer of hunters. The second is heart attack, and they did a study where somebody basically took 150 pounds or something, just dead cold, grabbed it, and then took off walking, and their heart rate was maxed out in, like, I want to say 200 feet.
Yeah, that's insane.
And to think about somebody who doesn't work out, who doesn't really, their nutrition and being in any kind of shape at all, and probably are like a candidate for a heart attack anyway. And then they go out and they sit in their tree stand and it's super cold, and that puts some stress on their body. And then, a deer comes out and they get this big shot of adrenaline, and then they shoot this deer, and then they labor to get out of the stand or out of the blind. And then they're most likely, dragging it out by themselves, and they grab a hold of it. They're all pumped up. They're like, oh, it's only a couple hundred yards. They drag that deer, 200, 300 feet, and boom, heart attack. So, that's a pretty big deal. And I think that, the other reason that I always like to throw in there, that you touched on, is just confidence, just confidence. Like,
yeah,
one of the things that being in, sacrificing basically, and being in shape, getting up early, or, taking that extra hour after work, or carving out some time in your week to be disciplined in doing in your health pursuit, whether it be training or stretching or shooting or all of the above is what I would recommend. And then making some changes nutritionally if need be. When you hit the playing field, which is really the hunting ground, your tree stand, you're gonna know that you've done what you need to do in it, physically, in order to give you an edge. You're going to be able to stay on alert a lot longer. You're going to feel more confident. You're most likely going to not get as distracted as easy, because like, hey, I did not make all this sacrifice to come up here and be distracted, or I did not make the sacrifice to get up here and then get cold, or whatever it might be. But there's something to be said about making the sacrifices necessary to get yourself healthy that carries over to any endeavor that you might be pursuing, especially any physical endeavor like hunting. So that's the reason I always tell people, because you owe it to yourself, and that you'll never feel more confident in a hunting situation, regardless of your technique, than if you sacrifice and train hard and stay disciplined in your health pursuit.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I focus on, is the mental aspect of it too. If you're mentally weak, you're going to be out of that tree stand, could be a half hour, could be an hour, when you really need to be there. Especially like out here in the rut, you need to be there almost all day if you can do it. And if you're mentally weak, you're going to pack up shop and head out. So
yeah.
I think that the easiest way you can replicate that is to get into your pain cave, or whatever you want to call it, to go down that little dark place and train. And then you got to throw on top of, we most people are gun runners out where I am, but you got to be able to throw your bow up and make an accurate shot with an elevated heart rate.
Yeah.
So you definitely need to train from a mental aspect, and I think that replicates it, almost 100-fold.
Yeah. So Kyle, tell me about your toughest hunting situation where you were just like, man, I'm glad I trained for this.
Yeah. So, and oddly enough, I didn't harvest an animal. I actually didn't see anything the whole day, but I think it might have been 10 degrees out, and it was late November, and I think we got a huge snowstorm. But I decided to go out anyways, and I sat and sat and sat and sat. I didn't see a thing. But what that really taught me was, you have to be able to put in the time to reap, like you said, reap the rewards. Even though I didn't see a thing, I still proved to myself that despite all the conditions not in my favor, I was still able to sit it out and potentially could have had a shot at a beautiful animal,
Yeah.
That to me was a win in my book,
You know?
How long did you sit in that 10-degree weather, buddy?
It was probably from 2 until last light, 4 hours probably tops, 5 hours almost. It was cold. it was cold.
Cold weather is rough. Like number one, just sitting in cold weather. Like I can handle the cold weather, but if you mix cold weather with don't move, like I'm basically.
Yeah, and I know, and if my feet get cold, I'm worse. My good buddy Justin Haynes, who you've met, he laughs at me every year because my feet, if I get cold, that's the first thing I'll start bitching about.
Like your feet?
My feet. That's it. I could be cold at my midsection or whatever, but if my feet get cold, I'm done.
Yeah. But they make those big old booties now, right? Like there's probably $1 million business just keeping people's feet warm with.
Yeah, I have those thermosol. Yeah, those thermosol inserts.
well, when I do sit in late season, I'm always like bundled up, and I have like everything I can think of to keep me warm. Like, I mean, I'm not opposed to like just grabbing a sleeping bag and hauling it up there and sitting in a sleeping bag. Honestly, that is the only thing that I just don't do well in, and that is sitting still in the cold. Like I want to get up, I want to get my feet warm, I want to get my hands warm. What am I doing up here? It's so hard, Kyle. Like anything else, rain, like heat, whatever. Like I can figure it out. If I'm on my feet and it's cold, when I get cold, I'll just pick up the pace a little bit, or I'll turn uphill or whatever. But man, you get out there to freaking sit in those tree stands and like negative degrees and
with the wind chill. Yeah, it's brutal. You definitely learn to make it more productive, so you're either sitting first thing in the morning or last light, so you're not out there all day, but like I said before, certain situations you're going to want to sit as long as you can.
For sure.
But yeah, that's funny.
Oh man. So let's go back to training and there's one of the things that I meant to ask you back then. I'll ask you now. What do you think it is that keeps people from reaching their goals? Like what's the number one reason that you've seen why people just don't reach their goals? They come in with good intentions and they think, man, this is what I want to do and this is the year. And why do you think so many people fall off?
I would say the number one thing is they don't trust the process. Whether you have a coach or you don't trust whatever you're doing wholeheartedly at 100%. And if there's not 100% buy-in in that program, in that piece of nutritional coaching or whatever you're going through, then your results are not going to be what you want. And that's kind of what I've seen in the past is people don't commit 100% to it, or they don't rationalize or think that, this is going to be brutal and I need to stick it out until I've reached this goal. And I think they're really quick to abandon their goals is another thing. How tied into that goal are you, or how invested are you? If it's a superficial goal, then you're going to abandon that, right when things get tough. But if it really has true meaning, like people talk about finding their why. If it's truly your why, you're not gonna fail. There's just no way you're going to. So I think that's really the number one thing is they're not tied into their goals 100%, and they don't trust the process.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Honestly, those are the two main reasons why I think people abandon ship also. It's just not that important. They think it is at the time, and they get excited, and they're emotional, and they think, you know what, something happens in their life, or they see themselves in the mirror, or they see a picture of themselves, or they, like, a pack out just kicks their butt, and they go, you know what, I'm done with this. And that lasts only so long, and then you have to rely on discipline and trusting the process. And let's face it, Kyle, everybody out there will probably agree with this. We are a want it now society. We don't want something to take, 12, 14, 52 weeks. We want it to happen overnight. We want to go in the gym, hit a hard workout, wake up the next day and feel different, feel better, feel like, man, I'm losing weight, when that's not the way it works, man.
No, 100%.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think maybe even more so than not a strong enough why is people in general don't think that the process is working, and they say, what's the point? It's like, man, I've been doing this for 4 weeks and I'm no stronger, or I'm doing this for 4 weeks and I've gained 2 pounds, or I'm doing this for 4 weeks and I haven't seen any increase in my abs or whatever. It's like, dude, 4 weeks. Like, you got to give yourself a minimum of discipline, 12 to 16 weeks. Don't you think?
Yeah, and I would say whatever program it is, if you're doing P90X or whatever, if you're in some other Facebook group or whatever the case is, give it an honest shot, for God's sakes. If it is a 90-day deal and you're on day 60 and you're like, oh, this just doesn't cut it. You committed to that in the beginning for some reason. Give it 90 days, and if at the end of 90 days it doesn't work out, what are you truly out? You're not really out anything. So just give it an honest shot.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I kind of do that with most of the things, not just my fitness, but most things in my life. I try to commit to a 90-day period where I'm going to try the keto diet, where I'm going to try, getting up at 6 a.m. and doing my workouts rather than wait until the afternoon. And because, you're, like I said earlier, you're going to be motivated right away and go, okay, you know what, if it didn't seem like a good idea, you probably number one. So you have to consider that. And the other thing that we need to just embrace and come to grips with is that we're just a pretty emotional creature. Like, we're going to want changes, and by God, we're going to do it right now, and we're all in, and we're going for it. And guess what? Like, if you're lucky, that feeling will last like 3 or 4 days. If you're lucky, if it's just pure emotion, if it's just pure frustration, or I'm sick of this. So then you really have to rely on basically discipline, which in simple terms is, if you say you're going to do it, do it. Even if you're the only one, you said, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this, then do it. That's what it means. That's what it means. If you said, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this program exactly as it's written, to the best of my ability, as hard as I can, for 90 days, then by God, do it. Because, I mean, you and I both know people do not mind letting themselves down. They'll bend over backwards and do whatever it takes not to let other people down. But when it's just themselves, they're just like, you know what? It's no big deal. It's just, nobody really, I don't have a partner. I'm not letting anybody down. It's just me. I don't need to work out today, or I'll have this donut, or whatever it might be, But if you can treat yourself like you're somebody you like, for crying out loud, and say, you don't want to let yourself down, and just stick to that discipline. And I say you got a huge advantage over anybody else who isn't taking that. And so, I think that's one of the big reasons why people tend to fail in their goals, is just no discipline.
Yeah, and then I would say probably on the other side of the spectrum, is overtraining. I can't tell you how many people I've talked with, just like my general clients, and then in the train hunt community as well, is, I work out 5 days a week. I work out this time. I said, okay, well, that's great. If you can work out 5 days a week, that's awesome. But what are you doing to make sure you're recovering? And you hear radio silence. So if you're working out
5 days a week, kudos to you. But are you stretching? You're doing mobility, sleeping 8 hours, et cetera, you know, and generally the answer is no.
Yeah.
But okay, well, you might need to reevaluate and actually train less. And then they look at you like, oh, what do you mean train less? I need to hit it harder. So, I would say there's definitely a fine balance, but I would say overtraining is probably a close third on that.
Yeah, I agree with that too. You know, along with the we want it now society, we're also the more is better. If a little is good, more is better. And I agree with you 100%. Now, if you'd asked me that 10 years ago, I'd have been like, there's no such thing as overtraining. And now I kind of believe the same thing. Like, I think a guy can work out 7 days a week, but but I kind of look at training like this. There's no such thing as overtraining, just under recovering.
Hey, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, it's how well do you recover? You know,
which means you know, you have to know, like, are you ready for another? What kind of workout are you gonna do today? You know, like I did this high interval, high intensity, 30-minute workout that included, you know, some heavy deads and some kettlebell swings and some sprints and some overhead movements and some box jumps. And at the end of it, I was torched. And today I'm waking up and I'm feeling it, man. My legs, my hips, you know, my shoulders a little sore. What kind of workout are you going to do now? Like, your workout should consist of foam rolling and mobility and maybe some light cardio just to get the blood pumping. That's a workout too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You see, it's like, I think what we're both trying to tell our listeners is that training involves a lot of different categories or modalities or areas of fitness. Like, you don't have to work on the same areas of fitness over and over and over again, which is something that I did for a long time, especially in my CrossFit days. Is I would just go, you know, as fast as I could, as hard as I could, every single day for, you know, every workout. Like, just hit Fran, and then the next day we do, you know, some hero workout. The next day I feel a little sore. Like, I was sore for probably like 3 years in a row, you know, and I was younger then. I was in my mid-30s. So luckily I never got hurt. I also did a fair job of recovering with some foam rolling and some mobility, and I had a really good dynamic warm-up that I did before all the workouts. But my point is that if you're out there just hammering it, pretty soon you will get hurt. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Yep, right?
Exactly.
Do you agree with that, Kyle?
Yeah, 100%. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, a workout, a recovery workout. You could go sit in the sauna. You could go get a massage. You could go swimming. You could go do something that you normally don't do that's outside of your comfort zone. And that's going to be equally as challenging, but it's not as high on the intensity scale, or your body's not going to perceive it as a higher exertion.
Yeah.
You know?
So on that note, Kyle, give the listeners an idea about what kind of, if you guys don't know, Kyle is a trainer for us. He's actually the head trainer here at traintohunt.com. He's in charge of basically making, doing some training programs. He's got high altitude. It's called High Altitude, a little bit. And then he also is for hire via internet. So he will write you programming month to month, go over your goals, make sure that your programming matches what your goals are, and he loves talking nutrition. But Tyler, give these guys an idea about what, you know, what they could expect if they were to hire you and they were just somebody looking to, man, I haven't really worked out for a while, but I'm ready to get ready for this season.
Yeah, so basically, kind of like you touched on, we're going to figure out, you know, what your purpose is for training or why you're training. You know, oftentimes we'll have a conversation and we'll start with, well, I want to be
jacked, or I want to look like this, or I want to be able to do this. When we get down to it, there's, peeling the onion back 5 or 6 layers deep. You want to be that provider for your family, or you want to show or be the example for your son or daughter, whatever the case may be. We're going to start there, and we're going to tie everything else into that. So when it gets tough nutritionally, or when your workouts start to get tough, we're going to tie it right back to your family, and you're not going to have any excuse to skip out on a workout, or I'm going to be there to help you along the way. And then once we've kind of established that, we'll go through, and whatever equipment you do have or don't have, I'm going to design a workout around that to help you reach your goals. So if you don't have a ton of equipment, we're going to work together to figure out a solution for that while still making you progress towards your goal. And then we're going to periodically check in with each other. Usually we'll get on a call once a month. You're going to have my cell phone number. I'm not one of those trainers who doesn't shoot a text back if you text me or anything like that. So I'm very personable in that regard. I feel like, and that's what sets us apart at Train to Hunt, is it's a family atmosphere and it's a community atmosphere. So you're going to reach out to somebody, you're going to get somebody on the other end, whether it's me, Tyler, Will, Ken, Ryan, whoever else it is. Somebody's going to be there, and it's going to be a person, So we have that adherence to the program, and we're going to make changes if something's not working, which is a huge, huge benefit to the online personal coaching versus the membership. Membership's also a great tool if you just want to train, but that's what sets us apart in the personal coaching aspect of it. You have a program, and we're going to make stuff on the fly. So if you send me a text message and say, hey, I'm kind of beat up from yesterday, what should I do? I'm going to get back to you with an answer. You're going to be able to make that change within your workout. So that's one of the other aspects. And then for me, like you touched on, is nutrition. That's quite honestly where the rubber meets the road. I don't want to say I struggled with that at a younger age, but I definitely made a lot of poor nutritional choices and I've done a lot of research and different types of nutrition philosophies. And, I don't claim to know everything, but I know enough to where we can make a educated guess onto what we need to change in your diet. So if it's above me, I have the ability to find the resources that is going to get you help.
And that's just it. That nutrition is such a moving target that if one thing's not working for you, well, let's try a different approach. And pretty soon we'll find something that works best with your physiology, and you're off and running. But sometimes it takes a little bit to find that exact macronutrients ratio or whatever you need to be, what kind of food you need to be ingesting. In most cases, what food don't eat. So
and that's a big thing. Most people, I would say, I'll quote Joe DeFranco and Tom Blow. One size fits no one. So don't think that just because somebody did the keto diet or somebody's doing paleo or somebody's doing this, it's going to be the exact same result for you. So, keep that in mind when you're going through your nutrition planning, and if you're looking to make a change with your diet, don't expect the exact same results, because you're a different human being today than you were yesterday, for example. So you have to reevaluate things and constantly make changes. So just keep that in mind too.
Absolutely. So you briefly brought up the membership. Could you explain a little bit about what the membership looks like currently, and then we'll talk about what our future hopes are for that.
Yes. So currently the way the Train to Hunt membership is $12 a month. So you get workouts sent directly to your inbox every week that kind of outlines a training program to include video links and everything like that. So it lays everything out. It's usually sent out on Sunday, so you get that in your inbox, and it prepares you for the week ahead. And there's also a private Facebook group where there's other members in there. We interact in a private group and do things like that. So it's definitely beneficial if you're looking for just some training guidance. You know, you're that type of person who's highly motivated and just wants to train and just need a little bit of guidance.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And in the future, I think the thing that excites me the most about the membership is what we kind of have in store for people who right now may be on the fence about the membership and think, well, you know, I don't need that much. I don't need workouts written for me, or man, I need more than just to be able to look at a workout and, you know, I don't exactly know what some of the movements are. I think it's exciting and planning on putting those, you know, those video links up for them. And on top of that, we're going to give them access to all of the little one-click programs, which is basically our version of the P90X. And we currently have four available right now. And then any future programs that we develop as a team, we're going to have the members are going to be able to beta test that for us, which I think would be awesome. I mean,
yeah, that's going to be cool. Yeah, that's fun for that.
That's worth your $120 a year right there.
Oh, no doubt, man. I mean,
to be able to just be first, to be able to beta test these new programs, and in the meantime, yeah, you're still getting these weeks of training in your inbox, and then what we talked about earlier, Kyle, like the one thing that we're going to start doing here as early as, you know, maybe September, October is member only drawings.
Challenges, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You know, we have some member only challenges that you have a chance to win some really great prizes, and you know, really just make them more than just here's some workouts, but now you're part of a bigger picture. You're part of the beta team. You're able to compete in these challenges and, you know, win some great prizes. So I'm excited about what's down the road for the membership. I think that what's a safe date to throw out there as far as like being able to start this membership up. I know that there's a few hoops we need to jump through, but
it's all on the back end stuff mostly.
Yeah.
The private portal and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. I'm honestly thinking probably about the same time the new 2019 Train to Hunt Challenge schedule is going to come out, which is October, November timeframe.
Yeah, that's a safe bet.
Yep. So.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting, man. That's going to be really fun.
I'm excited about it too. I've always loved the Train to Hunt challenges. It's kind of like the heartbeat of the brand right now. But I'm really, you know, at my core, I'm a trainer, just like you. Like I care about people. I want people to be confident. I want people to be able to walk with their heads high and hunt clear into their 80s and 90s and that's where my true heart lies, is in the training aspect of hunting and the Train Hunt Challenge and life basically. So yeah,
for sure. That's really what it's about. And then like you touched on with the membership, I can just add that like it's $129 or something you said. I put $150. Something like that, $150, whatever it is. That's an absolute steal. And I don't want to just try to blow smoke, but that is an absolute steal. You know, to have everything from an exercise index to, you know, sample diet plans and meal plans and all that stuff in there, that is an absolute steal.
Yeah, it is. You're not going to find that kind of value anywhere. You know.
No.
Nowhere. No. Not online, not on. At a gym, you know, that kind of service would cost you a year's worth of workouts. Would cost probably.
Oh, you're well over $1,000 easily.
Oh, for sure. For someone just to write the program and give it to you, you're well over $1,000 a month. I used to when I was training, and I'd train somebody 5 days a week for a month. It was like $1,200. They're charging $55 an hour. So
that's on the low end too, I'm sure.
That was 12 years ago last time I worked at a box gym. But anyway, I think we could talk all day about our passion for training people and seeing people succeed and transfer and be hunt and live their life with more confidence. But Kyle, I know that we were rubbing up against an hour here. I want to say thanks for your time. I appreciate you jumping on this call with us. I'm glad we finally made this happen.
Absolutely.
I would say that the last thing I leave us with is any thoughts on any advice to people who might be on the fence about going to a challenge? You've been to a couple, you've seen the atmosphere. You've actually competed in one. What would you say to people who might be hesitant about doing a Train to Hunt challenge?
I would just say you need to make the step or leap, or however you want to phrase it. But I would just say commit to it, and then whatever happens, happens. You're only person you're competing against, and I think that's where people get wrapped up in. Is, well, what am I going to be perceived as, or who's going to think of me as this, or however you may view that. It's just the only person you're competing against is yourself. That's it. Being able to, if you've never done one, set a goal to finish the course. Forget the time. The time is irrelevant if that is not your goal. If you're a seasoned vet as far as the challenge courses are concerned, no two challenge courses are ever alike, so it's tough to say year to year. But you want to try to beat your time. That's a different category. You're in a different category. If you're somebody who's just starting out, just finish the course. Just set that as your goal, and just sign up and commit to it.
Good advice, man. Good
That's a big
advice.
thing.
Anything else you want to leave us with?
No, man. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. I'll definitely have to get on and talk a little bit more about nutrition and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think,
for sure.
I think that's a huge, just talking with people at the challenges and my clients too. That's a huge component, and there's a lot of information out there to sit through, and I kind of want to help people navigate that and make it as easy as possible. Most of us all have families, and it can be overwhelming at times, and the biggest thing is just taking action and implementing something, So I think we could definitely do a nutritional thing too for at least our members to start with, and then go from there.
Absolutely. And if you're one of those people that don't want to wait for that podcast and wait for this information, and you'd like to get it from Kyle right away, or you just want to get some training from Kyle right away, just go to www.traintohunt.com, hit the training tab, and scan down there. You'll see Kyle's profile, and you'll be getting from Kyle. It's $149 for the month, and he's going to give you well over $149 worth of value, just of advice and nutrition and training and everything else. So, okay, Kyle. Well, thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate it. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast, and I hope you have a healthy week.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I appreciate it.
You bet.